If you think the BRICS are ready to take on the G7, you haven't been doing your homework. People have been throwing around all kinds of crazy stats like the BRICS control 80% of the world's oil production and their economy is bigger than the G7. So let's set the record straight. Honestly guys, a lot of this stuff is pretty Googleable. Let's look at oil production. You can see right here that the US is the largest oil producer with a 20% share. Is every other country in the world in the BRICS? No. Come on guys, how about GDP? You can see here that even with the new members,
the new challenge to the US dollar's dominance.
You must continue your journey without me. My time has come.
The $35 trillion debt threat.
You must continue your journey without me. My time has come. You must continue your journey without.
Welcome to The Real Shift, where real news meets real world consequences. And that, today we're discussing the US dollar versus BRICS.
People think the dollar is untouchable, but countries like Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are tired of using dollars for trade, and they're creating their own BRICS currency, backed by gold and resources. If this succeeds,
BRICS versus USD, the currency war of 2026. The US dollar, king of the world for decades. But in 2026, a block of rising powers is mounting a serious challenge. BRICS Plus, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and new members like Iran, Egypt, and the UAE isn't just talking de-dollarization anymore. They're building alternatives that could reshape global trade. Remember our video on US dollar banknotes? That greenbacks dominance fund cheap US borrowing and keeps your groceries affordable? But if BRICS succeeds, American inflation could spike and your purchasing power eroded. Today, we unpack their plans, the progress, and what it means for you. Backed by fresh data from 2026, let's break it down. What is BRICS? From emerging markets to global counterweight. BRICS started in 2009 as an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Emerging economies pushing for more say in global finance. Fast forward to 2026, BRICS has expanded to include Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE, and Saudi Arabia, who formalized membership last month amid U.S. tariff threats. This isn't a casual club. They represent over 45% of the world's population, 30% of global GDP, and the massive commodity reserves. Oil from Saudi, Iran, rare earths from China, gold from Russia. Their goal, reduce reliance on the USD, which dominates 58% of global reserves and 80% of trade settlements. Why now? U.S. sanctions on Russia, Iran, Trump's 15% tariffs, and potential strikes on Iran are accelerating the push, as seen in recent X discussions, tying conflicts to BRICS payer gains. BRICS sees the dollar as a weaponized tool. De-dollarization is their shield. De-dollarization efforts, local currencies, gold and payment systems. BRICS isn't launching a single currency tomorrow. That's a myth. Instead, they're pursuing pragmatic steps, trading in local currencies, boosting gold reserves, and building alternative systems. Russia and China led. Over 90% of their bilateral trade is now in yuan and rubles, up from 20% pre-2022 sanctions. India pays Russia in rupees for oil. Brazil and China settled 50 billion in reais and yuan last year. Gold is key. BRICS central banks bought 1,000 plus tons in 2025, hedging against the dollar volatility. Then there's BRICS Pay, a blockchain-based system for cross-border payments, piloted at the 2025 Brazil Summit, aiming to bypass SWIFT by mid-2026. China's mBridge with UAE, Thailand test CBDC settlements. A neutral clearing currency backed by baskets could follow. Here's a quick comparison.
My time has come. You must continue your journey without me.
If you think the BRICS are ready to take on the G7, you haven't been doing your homework. People have been throwing around all kinds of crazy stats like the BRICS control 80% of the world's oil production and their economy is bigger than the G7. So let's set the record straight. Honestly guys, a lot of this stuff is pretty Googleable. Let's look at oil production. You can see right here that the US is the largest oil producer with a 20% share. Is every other country in the world in the BRICS? No. Come on guys, how about GDP? You can see here that even with the new members, the G7's GDP is still about 50% larger than the BRICS. The idea that the BRICS have a larger GDP comes from adjusting the GDP figures for purchasing power parity. But that's the kind of thing that will get you laughed out of the room by any economist. PPP is good for a comparison of what people can buy in their own country. But to compare countries' production, you need to put everything on a level playing field. PPP is like comparing two people to see who weighs more, but weighing one person in kilograms and the other person in pounds.
USD system, BRICS alternatives. Trade settlements. 80% in USD, local currencies. Example, yuan, 7% global rise. Reserves, 58% USD. Share, 30-year low. Gold commodity backed units, yuan up to 4%. Payment network, SWIFT, US influence, BRICS Pay, mBridge, blockchain, CBDC. Progress 2026. Dominant but declining. Incremental, 20% BRICS trade de-dollarized. This shift is real. The USD reserve share dropped by 58% by the end of 2025 per IMF data, but challenges internal distrust, India-China tensions, volatility in BRICS currencies.
Most people think the dollar is untouchable, but countries like Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are tired of using dollars for trade, and they're creating their own BRICS currency, backed by gold and resources. If this succeeds, it could seriously weaken the dollar's global power and shift economic control toward the East. Do you think BRICS can dethrone the dollar? Comment below.
The alternative currency, myth or reality, impacts on American inflation and power.
The BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are discussing the creation of a new reserve currency. This currency would demonstrate the economic autonomy of these countries and provide an alternative to the present global financial system, which is currently dominated by the US dollar. The current situation involves the trade conflict between the US and China and the sanctions imposed on China and Russia. The introduction of a new reserve currency could greatly influence the demand for the US dollar and result in reduced demand, which could affect both the US and the global economy.
A full BRICS currency unlikely soon, experts say. A gold commodity-backed unit for accounting is more feasible. Not a Euro-style single money, but even partial success hurts the US dollar. If de-dollarization accelerates, global demands for dollars fall. Result? The US, with $35 trillion in debt, borrows at higher rates. Inflation rises as imports cost more. Your dollar buy less abroad. JP Morgan warns losing 10% reserve status could add to 1 to 2% to U.S. inflation annually. Pro-BRICS views. It delinks trade from U.S. geopolitics, making sanctions fairer. Skeptics. USD remains wounded but secure. Unmatched liquidity. Rule of law. Trump's tariffs, they're backfiring, pushing allies towards BRICS as ex-post notes, boosting Bitcoin, gold as neutral hedges. For Americans, weaker dollar means pricier gas, oil-eroded savings, but it could force fiscal discipline. Less endless wars funded by cheap debt. BRICS is chipping away at the USD dominance, not overnight, but steadily. In 2026, with tensions high, this currency war matters more than ever. Connected to the USD notes video, the paper's power is de-dollarization hype or threat. Drop your take. Like if this hits home, subscribe for more economic deep dives. Next tariffs, hidden costs, stay ahead.